Hello everybody. My name's Gary Crosby. Thank you for joining me today. If you're watching on replay, still give it a like, drop a comment with your business name, where you're from, share or tag anyone into this that you think might get some value from this. And that's all I'm after today. I just want you to leave at the end of this 20 minutes thinking, yeah, I'm glad I came along and listened to that. If you're watching live or on replay, doesn't make any difference. Drop me a message. I'll send you a copy of my summary sheet. You'll get all the tips and everything that I'm talking about today. So that's part of the value from today. Now, this is my first ever LinkedIn Live. Can you imagine? You have to apply to go on LinkedIn Live, and God knows what kind of algorithms they use, but whatever it was, they said I could do it. And so I'm doing a series of short live sessions midday on Wednesdays, all about leadership in business. I've got no idea how long that will be. Leadership is such a big topic. If people like this, they're getting value from it, then obviously I will continue to do them. And what I'm going to give you today is some advice that comes from the real world. It's pragmatic leadership advice based on my time in the Royal Air Force, my time in the corporate world, and my last 3 years as a business coach, teaching business owners to lead within their businesses as well. Now, as a coach, I like to give people fresh perspectives. You want new ideas in your business. And if you're the type of person who knows exactly what to do, but just can't make yourself do it, then accountability always works as well. So I do a lot of that. And after working with me, what I've seen with my clients, even through 2020, is increased turnover, some maximized profitability, and they've all grown their teams in one way or another. So I know that this kind of stuff works for business owners and business leaders. Now, we're in lockdown, right? And it has been a human tragedy for some, but what I'm seeing amongst my business owner clients is a mix. I'm seeing people in hibernation. I'm seeing people who are just keeping their head above water and keeping things going. Good, profitable business models that are going to come good later on. And I'm seeing people who are flying. You know, I've got an IT owner client who March, April, May, June, July was still working out how to help people work from home, businesses with remote workforces, and it's been a good year. What's the common factor in all of this, of course? Well, it's leadership, isn't it? It's the way people lead their businesses, the way they think about businesses, and that's what I really want to focus on today. One of the great academic questions of leadership is, are leaders born or made? You know, can you just be born a highly charismatic leader, and or do you have to learn and improve? Well, in my opinion, and it is just my opinion, I think great leaders are made. Right? I've followed some really charismatic people in leadership positions into complete disasters. And I've followed some really quiet people into brilliant leadership situations where they've done really well. So I think they're made. And congratulations for coming and seeing if you can learn and improve your leadership skills by listening to this series. Shakespeare said in Twelfth Night, some people are born great, some people achieve greatness, other people have greatness thrust upon them. And a good example of that, I guess, would be Rudy Giuliani, you know, mayor of New York, 9/11. He was in that position, so he had a leadership role, but he was feted around the world as being a great leader for his response to that tragedy. I mean, he's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit since then, but he wrote a great book on leadership, and it just shows that was greatness thrust upon him at that particular point. Now, you might find yourself in a position now where you're a leader in your business, where, for example, let's think of a good example. You were a web designer, and you took on someone to help you with the administrative side of the business. You took on another web designer to help increase your capacity, and you're now a leader. Those people are looking to you for leadership. If you're in a bigger organization, then there's a good chance that you're now leading a team, whereas you might have been doing the do before, being the producer in your organization. A good example of that is, you know, salespeople who get promoted to sales manager and sales director roles. So what I'm going to focus on over the next 15 minutes or so is first-time leadership. Now, that doesn't mean the principles I'm about to outline don't apply to all leaders in all businesses, but I've just picked the 5 things that I think, from my experience, first-time leaders ought to really focus on. And I'm talking about, you know, in the first year or two of your position as a leader, where people look to you for leadership. All right, so let's get straight down to those. I'm going to use my experience. In the Air Force, I was fortunate enough to be appointed the commanding officer of one of its frontline flying squadrons. So I learned a lot about leadership in that role. I've done leadership in the corporate world, and I've watched and helped business owners to grow in the last 3 years. So let's get straight into those 5, right? So the first thing that people find difficult in their first-time leadership situation is strategic thinking. Okay, so that's number 1, strategic thinking. How do you start to think strategically? And there's one question that I always get people to ask themselves, and I want you to write this one down if you've got pen and paper handy. And that is, how can I make this business or team outlast me? Okay, and that question about outlasting you gets you to focus on the longevity of the team. It gets you thinking strategically about what will keep the business going, what will keep the team going, and it gives you a sense of perspective rather than focusing on right now, you as the leader in your new position. So how can I help this business or team outlast me is a great place to start with strategic thinking. The second part of this is based on this book, which if you haven't read it, you really should. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. There's a reason why it sold millions and millions of copies. And for first-time leaders in this strategic thinking area, the thing that you should be thinking about is habit number 1, which is to be proactive. All right, but be proactive about what? Well, be proactive, first of all, about the opportunities that are out there for you. Okay, so a lot of people get into their comfort zone. Things are going well, profits are at the right sort of level. They get comfortable with that. It's a really dangerous place for you to be. All right, so think about the opportunities. Where can you take your existing products into new markets? Where do you need a new product or service? What are you going to do with the team? The more proactively you think about the opportunities around you, the more strategic your thinking will be. And then there's the kind of opposite. There's being proactive about the threats that you might face in business. So what kind of things are out there that are going to upset the comfort zone situation? What kind of things are going to upset our business or our team? Yeah? And if you think about the risks that you might face, you can do 2 things if you're proactive. You can proactively reduce the chances of that risk actually occurring, and you can proactively reduce the impact of that risk if it does occur. Yeah, and those are good things to be doing as a business leader in the beginning, to start thinking proactively about your situation. Yeah, so strategic thinking. Very important. How will the business or team outlast me, and how can I be proactive? Opportunities and threats. That's number 1. Number 2 is all about communications. Now, we know that communication is really important for leaders, right? But I want you again to write this one down because it's absolutely vital. Communication is the response that you get. Okay, communication is the response that you get. It's not what you say, how you say it, your body language, your tone of voice, all of those things, although they are important when you're giving a message. It is the response that you get. So if you're sending a message out to your team, your business or your organization, and the response you're getting isn't quite right, there's something wrong with your message and the way that you convey it. Okay, so that's a really important thing. The second thing for first-time leaders is to know your audience really well. Okay, so if you understand their worries and concerns as a leader, it's more likely that you're going to be able to address those effectively. Okay, so getting to know your audience is very, very important. And the final bit in communications in number 2 is to double up, triple up, and quadruple up your communications. And what do I mean by that? Well, the fact that you send an email out to everybody will appeal to those who can read an email and take all of the important information out of it. But those who like to watch a video or listen to you give a verbal briefing or some other form of communication, the message won't fall in the right place with them. So if you double, triple, or quadruple up your communications, you're going to send that message out in a way that will appeal to more of your followers than it would if you just sent it out in one way. Okay, so communications, really, really important. Work out how your followers are going to absorb information. All right, number 3. And I was thinking about this morning when I was having another look at this, and I haven't put these 5 things in order, but I think this is probably the most important one. And it's the most important one because I've seen quite a lot of people get this wrong, and it creates a great deal of pressure and stress on the business owner. Okay, so number 3 is teach others to think. Now, why is that important? You know, a lot of business owners and team leaders get all fluffed up about the fact that they're now in charge, right? And they want people to come to them. They like the fact that people rely on them and depend on them for advice and for leadership. But it is a fatal error to make in business and in team leadership if you allow that dependency culture to go on for too long. All right, there's another book. I don't have the book here with me. It's in the office, but it's called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey by Ken Blanchard and another author whose name I can't remember. But the principle of that book is that problems in business with your customers, with your suppliers, with your processes, with your systems, with your finances, whatever they are the monkeys, right? And the employees carry those monkeys with them. And sometimes they'll come to you as the leader and they'll go, I really want to give this monkey to you. Will you take this monkey from me so I don't have anything to do and you can take responsibility for this problem? And if you accept those monkeys, then this is when you put the pressure and the stress on yourself. So how can we avoid that? How can we not create a dependency culture? How can we teach others to think? Well, there's 2 ways, I think. First one is mentoring. Okay, so in mentoring, information flows from me, the leader, the senior person, to somebody who is more junior. Okay. And I'm giving them knowledge, skill, the benefit of my experience. I'm teaching them things that will help them to reach decisions more effectively. Mentoring is really important. But I also think, particularly for business owners and leaders, coaching is really important. And coaching, of course, is all about asking great questions. So if somebody comes to you with a monkey and they're getting ready to hand this monkey over to you, and you say to them, well, look, I realize there's a serious problem here, but before I give you my ideas, what have you been thinking about? And you're saying to people, I want to hear what you've thought about the solution to this, back to kind of arrogant 80s bosses, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Well, this is a kind of slightly more subtle way. You might say to somebody, what would you do with this problem if I wasn't here today? And there's lots of different variations on that kind of questioning. But soon, the employees start to realize that actually, you're not going to take the monkey. You're not going to accept the problem and deal with it. You're asking them to think for themselves. So number three is teach others to think. All right. Now, number 4, lead with speed. What do I mean by lead with speed? Nothing to do with drugs or anything like that. Leading with speed is all about reducing the friction and the bottlenecks in your business. Okay. I'll give you an example of a time when I was in the Royal Air Force. I used to fly around in an aeroplane that collected intelligence. And there were 29 people on that aeroplane. And I was the mission commander. I sat in the middle of that aeroplane. It was my job to decide, where does the aircraft go? How is it configured? What is it collecting? And how do we report that stuff to all the people who wanted it? And I used to joke with my peers at that time, there's 28 other people on this aeroplane. 14 of them think I'm a total clown. And the other 14 think I'm the best thing since sliced bread. But I just have to make a decision. And that's what lead with speed is all about. In the fast-moving world of air operations, you haven't got time to ponder. But in business, I've seen people pondering for a very long time, waiting for the perfect set of conditions. And what I'm saying with lead with speed is sometimes it's better to make a decision and set off on that particular heading. If it turns out to be right, that's great. If it turns out to be not quite so right, you can make an adjustment at some point. But at least you've got people moving and they're not paralyzed and waiting for you. So the bottleneck thing, if you're the bottleneck in your team or in your business because people are waiting for you to make decisions, then lead with speed. Take some decisions quickly and adjust them later on. All right, so that was number 4. Number 5 is I want you to build powerful networks and connections. Okay, I wasn't very good at this at the start of my leadership career, and it cost me a little bit of time in that sphere. Building powerful connections and networks is really important for team leaders, for business owners, with your customers, with your suppliers, with your employees, with your team members. They are all vitally important people to connect with. And the one tip I've got in this particular area is for you to do this with abundance. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, abundance in this kind of situation means that when you're dealing with networks and connections of people that you know you're going to be collaborating with later on, then why not start with a simple phrase like, how can we make this work? Yeah, how many people do we know that say no all the time? How many people do we know that would give an instantly negative response? And if you want to be seen as a good leader and a good collaborator in your business or in your team, how can we make this work is a great and very simple phrase to get people thinking, okay, well, there's probably a solution here that we could get to. All right. So some simple things, some slightly more complicated things, strategic thinking. How can I make this business or team outlast me? Good communications is the response that you get. Double, triple, quadruple up on those communications. Teach other people to think. Really, really vital. Don't accept those monkeys from your team because they'll grow to love the fact that you'll take the responsibility off them. Lead with speed. Make a decision. Go with it. If it's not quite right, then we'll adjust later on. Another book. It's on the bookcase behind me somewhere. Perfect is the enemy of the good. How many times have you waited for the perfect situation to find out that you could have made great progress by just being good at that point? And the final one, build powerful connections and networks. Use abundance. How can we make this work? All right, so if you want to have a chat with me about anything that you've seen or heard today, message me on LinkedIn, or the contact details are there on the screen. If you want me to have a chat with you or your team or your organization about leadership, then do the same thing. Just get in touch and we can put something together that will be bespoke to you. Drop a comment in on LinkedIn so I can see what kind of value you've got from this. Share it with anybody that you think will take value from it as well. And finally, I will see you next week, Wednesdays, midday. I'll be in the same place. And next time we're going to do vision, energy, and passion, how to use emotion in your leadership. And I would say this is for business and team leaders who have got a vision to take their people from where they are now to somewhere that's better. Okay, so this is a kind of a transformational leadership thing where that vision, that energy, that passion is really going to make a difference. It's been great to talk to you all today. Drop me a comment, let me know what you think, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.